no state was stronger against defunding the police and standing up for the men and women who wear the uniform than the state of Florida. And that has been true under every single Speaker of the House I dealt with my first 6 years, under every Senate president I dealt with over my first years. And honestly, it also includes the current Senate president, President Albritton, who's been very supportive of law enforcement. And yet, you have the House is pursuing this budget that is reversing all the momentum we have when it comes to supporting our state law enforcement. So this budget, we know it's harder to recruit troopers because we need to increase the trooper pay. And I've proposed to do that. We have done that, but we got to do more. Their budget defunds the raises that we had set for law enforcement officers in the state of Florida. Their budget cuts 84 current state trooper positions, which, oh, by the way, I don't think the workload is going down in Florida. You got a lot of people, and in fact, it's definitely going up because of my immigration reforms that have required state and local to assist with immigration enforcement and deportation efforts. The Florida Highway Patrol is part of this federal 287G program, where they're actively working with the federal government to identify illegal aliens and get them out. And so why are you cutting positions? They even defund the ballistic armor that the Florida Highway Patrol needs to be able to do their job effectively. So you want to talk about a Republican supermajority? This is a donkey in an elephant suit when they're going after law enforcement. This is not what they campaigned on when they sought your vote. You elected this House under false pretenses. They didn't tell you that they were going to throw away their principles and just follow whatever the leadership told them to do. But that's exactly what they're doing with this budget. And I just think it's disgraceful that they're targeting Highway Patrol and law enforcement the way they are. They bat their chest. They say they're for it. And then that's why I always say, in this business, talk is cheap. Anyone can tell you anything. Show me your deeds. Show me what you're actually doing. Our record in Florida of standing up for law enforcement is second to none. We have done it time and time again. We are continuing to do it. And honestly, Republican legislators have stood with us time and time again, all the way up until this current session in the Florida House of Representatives. Something is rotten over there. This is not what they were elected to do, but they are choosing to take the trust you placed in them and sabotage the best interests of your community and the state. And I just thought you ought to know about that. I think you ought to know, because I know most people probably aren't following what's in the House's budget, what they're actually trying to accomplish with this stuff. I haven't really figured out what they're trying to. I mean, they obviously want to help personal injury lawyers get rich. I know that because they've put a lot of bills up to try to do that, which, by the way, are dead on arrival anyway. So go ahead and do it. Make my day. So you have that. You also have them trying to sabotage everything we've done, trying to join with Democrats to attack me, attack the administration, just manufacturing crap to try to distract from their failures. So you have that, but I don't really know, what are they doing to cut property taxes, as I've called for? Nothing. They are refusing in the Florida House of Representatives to do any property tax relief. They actually want to cut taxes for tourists and visitors and foreigners. I want to do that. I want to reduce your property taxes as Floridians. I'd rather the tourists pay more taxes. Why are we giving them a break on anything? I don't think that's going anywhere either, but that's what they're doing. So it's not a good agenda. Actually, one of the bills I mentioned this yesterday, we really led the nation and dragged this country out of the COVID lockdowns. If it wasn't for the free state of Florida, we would have been mired in years and years of really bad stuff, especially once Biden got in. And I had to fight that fight very lonely for much of the time. I didn't really have a lot of folks backing me up. I got attacked a lot, but that just goes with the territory. But one guy I had that was willing to stand up and fight was Florida Surgeon General, Dr. Joseph Ladapo. And Dr. Ladapo has basically been willing to stand up for evidence-based medicine. So if the medical establishment is telling you that your newborn baby needs to get an mRNA COVID shot, Surgeon General is willing to look at the data and then tell you the truth, that no, your newborn baby does not need to get an mRNA COVID shot. And some people don't like that he's willing to stand up and say the truth, but that's what he's been willing to do. They actually have a piece of legislation in the Florida House of Representatives that would have the effect of firing Dr. Ladapo from his position. Basically in Florida, he works at University of Florida. He does a lot of other things, but I've said I don't want all the agencies cloistered in Tallahassee. I would rather have people that are out in the actual state and not in this little bubble, this little political bubble. So I think it's good. So Ladapo, our Secretary of the Florida Department of Transportation, Jared Perdue, would potentially be forced out over this. Remember, he was the one that helped me rebuild the Pine Island Bridge in 3 days, rebuild the Sanibel Causeway in 2 weeks. You know, if you had California emergency response, you think those bridges would have been built yet? No, it would have taken years to be able to do it. So, but he lives in Central Florida because that makes sense where a lot of the projects are taking place. It's easier for him to get here, Northeast Florida, from that place. You got to ask yourself, what is motivating this? Why are you doing this ridiculous nonsense? It's all a charade. It's really a pathetic agenda. So I know that the Florida senators do not agree with what the House is doing. I know that obviously my administration does not agree with the House is doing. But you guys just need to know that this is what's going on up there. And I think these guys, I mean, the fix is this. They think that the leadership thinks they can jam through whatever they want, regardless of what the voters want, and that come election time, they can raise enough money from special interests to be able to send you mailers, text messages, and run advertising to basically lie to you and tell you that these members actually stood for the conservative values that they ran on. And that's their bet. That's their bet, that they can get away with it because come election time, you're not going to be following. You're going to get a nice shiny mailer saying, you know, John Q. representative is the most conservative thing since sliced bread, and they stood with the governor. They're doing this, Florida first. And they think that you're going to just believe that without actually evaluating the conduct. And so I don't think that that's good. I also don't think it makes sense. I mean, we have a very successful model in Florida. We leaned in on the tough issues. We were leading on all this stuff, fighting the woke, first ones out of the gate, fighting the COVID hysteria, first ones out of the gate. All these things that we did were not even popular at the time. They were the right things to do, but people responded because they saw the leadership and they saw we were doing it for the right reason. And they responded overwhelmingly with very strong electoral performances. They did not have a supermajority before I was governor. We got that after the 2022 election, and we got it because we were running on a bold agenda. But more importantly than running on the bold agenda, it's converting on the agenda once you get into office and actually doing what you said you were going to do. If you just run unapologetically on a certain agenda, you get in and you implement it. Even people that disagree with you, they will respect the fact that, hey, this is what he said he was going to do, and that's what they're doing. What I think voters really don't like is when they run on one agenda, they get in, and not only do they not convert on it, but actively try to undermine or sabotage that agenda. This is a sabotaging of Florida's law and order reputation. This is a sabotaging of the people that are wearing the uniform, that are risking lives. You see the Tren de Agua gang members? Who do you think's helping nab these guys? Highway Patrol is. They see them. FDLE is doing it. So these guys are working hard. They're putting their lives on the line, and they deserve our support. They have my support. I'm pretty confident they have the support of the Florida Senate. But what the Florida House of Representatives done is just wrong. And you all ought to know about that. All right, we're going to hear from some folks that may have something to say about it. So first, we're going to hear from Amanda Gerhardt.